my name is Tisa Joyner Nance, and today I want to talk to you about maintaining your faith while being hurt. I grew up in church all my life, and I have to say that any life hurt that I've encountered has been at the hands of people who call themselves church folk or pastor or preacher. And so today I just want to talk to you about how do you maintain your faith. So many times we get hurt in the church and we disengage and we feel like we can't continue to kind of be present in the house of God with that wound. So we're going to talk about maintaining your faith, maintaining engagement, staying connected although you're wounded, staying connected even when you're bleeding, and not allowing the hurt to get you to disengage from what God might have for you. So that's today's episode.
I ain't that shit.
It's about self-empowerment. It's about self-awareness. It's about self-respect.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of I Ain't That Chick. I am your host, Rae-Shan, and I do have another fantastic, y'all, she's good. She's good. I have another fantastic guest on set with me today. Please introduce yourself to everyone.
Hi, I'm Tisa Joyner Nance.
Tisa, first of all, thank you so much for being a guest on I Ain't That Chick. I just so appreciate it. I'm just because just feeling the sisterhood and the chemistry here, you guys. And part of our pre-interview on the phone, you mentioned in your intro a little bit about finding faith again after being betrayed by people that have hurt you. Mm-hmm. And I have so many questions I want to lead in with you, but I want you to tell me a little bit of what that means, but then take me back to the beginning and how you got up to that point.
Okay, well, what that means to me is most people, and I guess this is close to my heart because I've been encountering so many people who have grown up in church, who have gone to church all their lives, and because they've been wounded in church, they've now disengaged, and they don't even want to go. Right. They may watch it on the TV or watch it on, stream in, but they really don't want to be present. Right. There's a hurt and a woundedness that precludes them from being able to fully engage again in the house of God. And it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart, one, because I believe in the church. I believe in the purpose of why God created church. Not why man or how man has institutionalized the church, but what God's purpose was for the church. And part of that purpose was for community. Yes. And for us to be able to support each other in this life walk. And so for me, I felt compelled to start sharing my story of the type of woundedness that I've endured at the hands of people in the church, because there's no hurt like church hurt.
No, there's not.
But there is healing if we believe God, like we say we do. There is healing for the woundedness, and there is a way to continue to be engaged while being hurt. We tend to think we need to disengage to get healed.
And people stay away, and especially men.
Stay away, especially men.
If men encounter any type of church hurt, even if it's one time, they stay away.
And you can understand, if you've been burned before by putting your hand over the fire, more than likely you're not going to put your hand over the fire again. So I get it. And I think oftentimes people who have been wounded don't feel hurt. They don't feel as though the woundedness is acknowledged, and they feel like they're made to feel shamed because they don't want to be bothered. I'm here to say I get it. And the natural man says I would do the same thing.
Right. Now, do we talk about church hurt? Is it okay to talk about church hurt? Because do we want to protect church
institution?
Yes.
Oftentimes when I hear people talk about church hurt, it's almost as, get over it. Okay, or that what you're calling church hurt isn't church hurt, it's you. And so there's a lot of victim blaming. There's a lot of shaming because you've been wounded. And I'm here to tell people there's no shame in being wounded. No, you did get slapped by that person. We're not going to pretend that it wasn't a slap. We don't have to spiritualize it.
You can't pretend
it was a slap. And so for me, and you asked where from my beginning, I just started to talk about being molested by clergy as a young girl in the church. And I mean, when I say I'm a church baby, my mother was dancing in church right before she had me. Like
So
she went into labor the next day. That is I'm
You
a church
grew up in
baby.
church, yeah.
My parents were pastors, so I'm a PK.
Ooh,
and
that's
a
whole
level of church hurt.
Yeah.
But being molested, let me put in the context because molestation could take many forms, right? But I wasn't raped, right? But it's still molestation, nonetheless. And when you are a young person, and I always saw God's face. I was always, a prayer warrior as a little kid, as a young girl. I believed what they said.
Yeah.
I sold in. I didn't know. I bought into. If you say that this is God, girl, I was an evangelist. I was on fire for God. And then here comes this disruption of trauma. And this is trauma that happens, and it's happening from someone who is then preaching and talking about God. And so you, as a young girl, you can imagine just the confusion of, wait a minute, how does this happen? How do we even process? How do we even allow this to happen? How do you get up and talk, and then I know what you did to me? And for a long time, I didn't even process what had happened. I didn't tell anybody what had happened. The first time, I think I was at least 8.
8 years old.
I was at least 8.
Was it inappropriate touching?
Inappropriate touching, fondling. One of the ones that stick out, and when I mean it happened with different people. And there was and I used to believe there was something about me that just attracted people who wanted to use my body or defile me in some way. And as a young person, you don't have the language for that. You don't know what that is. You just know that there's something seemingly about you that makes me want to touch you or want to feel upon you. And I'll never forget, my father was taking me to someone's house to learn how to play the piano. And he would sit me on his lap and rock, but he's hard underneath me. And he's making me gyrate on his penis.
This is the man.
And this is a preacher who is supposed to be teaching me how to play music. So I'm literally doing this to silent.
He's getting off on
he's getting off on me. And I'll never forget that I didn't say anything, but I knew enough at that age to say, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel good. I asked my friends to come with me. And I brought 2 of my friends with me to the piano lesson the next time, and he put them out the room, and he did this again, but this time he was up my skirt. And I remember telling my mother, she was angry and she talked about it, and she had a fit about it and all of this, and think about it again as a kid. Now you feel like you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Now you feel like,
I wish I had told, I'm in trouble.
I shouldn't have told,
it's gonna be a
because
big
now mommy's old man, and you gotta go through all of this.
Yeah.
And I never forget, I don't know why he ended up back at our church, but I ran into him, running into my father's office. He was there. And I remember stopping cold in my tracks. Like, oh my God. I told, why is he still, like, how did,
do anything?
And from that point, I felt like, oh, I don't got nobody to protect me. It was a subconscious feeling that you are on your own and you have to protect yourself. And I never shared that with my mother. I never shared that feeling. I never went back and said, what is it? My father could have been telling them off, for all I know. I don't know why he was there. All I know is I remember feeling immobile. I could not move when I ran into him. And the feeling that I felt, that I got nobody to watch out for me.
What was his expression when he looked at you?
I don't even remember. All I remember is I couldn't move.
And he was allowed to stay at the church and continue to?
He wasn't a member of our church. He wasn't even a member of our church. So to see him again at the church was just kind of like, and I wasn't expecting that. I'm doing going back to my father's office in the church, and he's coming out. And it just stopped me in my tracks.
Did your dad ever say anything to you about it?
We never discussed it. We never discussed it. I never asked, because you didn't really go back and say, what is this person doing? You didn't really do all that. And I just remember never feeling like I couldn't count on anyone to keep me safe.
And your mom didn't say anything other than outside of being upset?
I don't even think she knew he was there. because I know my mother would have had a heart attack even if it was just paying him for the last, I don't know what, like I said, I don't even know why he was there.
Right.
All I know is that he was, and it made me feel unsafe and unprotected. I couldn't trust my father. I couldn't trust these preachers. I couldn't trust anymore anybody.
Did it affect the way you thought of and looked at all preachers?
I think it did in some way. I think it affected the way I thought about, and I was always a thinker and always a debater, and my father always gave me kind of that space because he taught me the word at a very young age. So I always had that space to debate the word with him and debate, well, why does it seem like it appeals only to the women, not the man? What are we, doing here? And I don't know if I felt like I had an issue with all preachers as much as I felt alone as a PK, and that this experience, and that's not to say that all the other woundedness of the cliques in the church that would deliberately leave me out because I was the pastor's daughter, or all of the times that people would say inappropriate things to me, disrespect me in my mind.
Like what?
And people were mean. They
because
were just mean
because they're jealous.
Because they were jealous of my mom.
Want to step in their place.
Right.
They just want to experience what it is to be a PK and what it is to be favored.
Well, it wasn't even about me. It was about getting back at my mother. To me, a lot of that, and father. So the children were, which is why I give credit to so many pastors now who kind of shield the children, so that people don't say mean things to them because you're mad at my father.
Exactly.
Now you want to say something because I'm the one that's accessible. So people weren't always nice. So having to deal with that and then being forced to live to a standard that was higher than everybody else's because you're the PK. So you couldn't do, simple things because you're the pastor's daughter, you got to be an example for everybody. So there was this constant critiquing, constant criticism, constant feeling that I have to live up to this standard where mistakes aren't allowed.
So you had to be Jesus in female form.
Girl,
in a sense.
Don't even talk about the perfectionist issues that still plague me today.
Wow.
Okay, well, not feeling good enough even after you've accomplished so much. Not feeling like you're as far along as you should be. I remember suffering from depression because in my mind I just wasn't doing enough. I should have been here by now, and I should have been, a superstar by this, and I'm not there. Mind you, I was 22, 23. I shouldn't be there. But thinking that I'm not doing this constant issue with trying to be great and better. And
is that a problem primarily in black churches, or do you think that's just a problem overall?
I think it's a problem for children of people of prominence.
Okay.
I think it's a politician's child could have that same effect that, because you're Senator such and such daughter, you just can't do the same thing. Poor Sasha Malia, we know how they went
I thought of them.
Even the Bush girls, how they...
Your life is on display, but you didn't even choose that.
You didn't choose that. And you can't do what regular young people do. Regular young people, when I get drunk, it's okay, shame on you, don't do it again. But they were just experimenting. You do it, it's, oh my God,
it's a cardinal sin.
It's a cardinal sin.
And then God forbid you got a boyfriend and you like somebody, she's a whore, she's this, she's that.
It wasn't, and we had some of those issues, and it was a difficult for me experience growing up that way.
Wow. And are you, what is God saying? Like, are you trying to hear God still through all of this?
And that's part of the conversation, right? Because despite all of this, one thing I'm grateful for is that early on, my mother, and coming from a lineage of women who were praying women, taught me how to have my own prayer life. And my own relationship with God. So I had an intimacy with God that when I was wounded, that was especially when I tapped into Him. I knew how to tap
that
in.
wasn't church.
That wasn't church.
That wasn't church.
That was just my relationship with God. So I can cry. Like even now, people always thought, oh, she must be living some kind of way because every time I worship, I cry.
She backslidden.
What she doing last night because she cried. Every time she come to church, she cry. That's because I am
That's
so.
how you worship.
I just am a water bag when it comes to me and my God and being able. Because honest to God, when I didn't feel safe or that there was anybody really that I could count on to have my back, I counted on him. So that little space would be me and him.
You and him. I mean, that's what you were going to the big space church for
is
that.
To develop.
So how do we get in? Like how do we? As humans, how do we mess it up so badly to where we're trying to, we go from that personal, intimate, awesome relationship with the Lord where it's beautiful and it's holy and it's clean to we present him in his big image and we mess it up. Not all the time, but we just mess it up.
I think what happens is our humanity still needs connection, still needs human connection, which is why part of the conversation is you can't just disengage.
You can't.
Because all the people that I know who disengage and they say, oh, well, I'm spiritual now, I don't just go to church. There's a void. I don't care what you tell me. And I see it.
I worship at home.
I worship at home. Really, you really don't do it like you would if you were in community because that's why God made it so. For us, when we look at the cross, right? There's a vertical relationship, but there's a horizontal, which means each other. And if God can stop dying to connect with the people on the cross with him, why do we think we can live through this life without having our brothers and sisters connected to us?
This is beautiful.
And so I see the void in us, and I see us dying spiritually. The spiritual disciplines that we grew up believing in, like praying, fasting, or depending on your background,
faith,
your faith, whatever those spiritual disciplines was that connected you to him. You start losing them in that wounded space. You start not really being committed and dedicated because you're hurt.
You lose relationship.
You lose relationship.
You may believe, but you lose relationship.
Both ways. Right? And so I think we mess it up because we start to act out of our feelings and our emotions. And it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be wounded. How do we still stay engaged? I'm bleeding. Okay, I don't even have a scab. I didn't get the scab yet. I'm open. So it's natural for me to be afraid that while I'm open, somebody else is going to come and cut me again. I get it.
And I can't go through that again.
I can't go through that again.
Because let me tell you,
I ain't that shit. I got a t-shirt that says, I'm saved, but you can still catch these hands. Because we start feeling like, right? I can't do that again.
Because church hurt, if you've ever experienced church hurt, it is a hurt that goes so deep.
And especially if it's people you looked up to.
You loved and trusted.
And you trusted with your faith.
My gosh,
you trusted with
and it doesn't heal easily.
It doesn't.
And people think because you're Christian, just let God heal you instantly.
It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes. It's progressive. But what I found though is that you don't get healed being disengaged. You get bitter. You get a scab, but you get bitter. You don't get better. And better isn't the staying engaged. Now, people may be asking why, what's the point? And I hear people, they're just a bunch of hypocrites. You can't trust these people, church folk. First of all, you're absolutely right. We are all a bunch of hypocrites. Because what a hypocrite is that we believe in something that we have not yet attained to. If we weren't hypocrites, we wouldn't need church.
Or we weren't sick. And I tell people, the church is for the sick people. I mean, no, we're not perfect, but we're there trying to get something right. Doesn't mean we're never going to mess up again, but we're trying, bringing your issue and trying to get it right. I'd rather be in that state.
We all believe things that we don't yet know that we really believe. So if you think just because I preach it, I'm always going to hit it. That's a problem.
It's not always.
I try to tell people the problem with church hurt, and the reason it hurts more than any other hurt, is because our expectations are skewed. We get in
Yes.
church and we
Yes.
believe that church is this safe haven,
Yes.
like this microcosm
Perfection.
of heaven,
Yeah.
where we're all already perfected, and that there should be no harm comes to me because you love God. I
That's
love
right.
God, so we're gonna
So
love
it's
each
peaches
other.
and cream.
It's peaches and cream. Why would we need church if that was the case? The church is not the social club of the well, as you said. My
That's-
father used to
yeah.
say, it's a hospital. Even
Hospital.
sometimes the doctors get sick. Okay, even sometimes, and
They
then there's
mess
some
up.
people that are in there are terminally ill. They may never get better. They've been there 20 years and they're
That's
still
right.
in the same space. But we still are called to be engaged together.
Family.
And we tend to think that our walk with God is just about us. So some of us either disengage, don't go at all, or some of us I just go get the word and I leave.
Yeah. And there's no family. There's
There's no connection.
Yeah.
Unless we connect to gossip about why we don't connect.
Yeah.
And then there's this sense of consumerism. I just go
I take-
purchase and take out, and I don't bring anything to. And
It's not reflective of the body.
I just, interestingly enough, wanted to take this venue and this space to say that it's time for us to come home. It's time for us to come home. Okay, it's time. I get it. You've been wounded, and no one's trying to diminish that. No one's trying to say it's not real. No one's trying to say that the trauma that you've experienced wasn't hurtful, wasn't damaging. But what I am saying is there is healing, but it's in the house.
Now, how do you, minister to someone, or how do you tell someone, okay, you know what, you need to come back? How do they come back? They've been gone for a while, and the church hurt is still there. It's buried, but it's still there. How do you get them to begin to peel off those layers to even confront and say, you know what, I do need to come back to the house of God?
I think first by being honest and confessing that it's real. God, I'm hurt, I'm wounded, I'm scared, and I'm afraid. But I'm willing to try again if you'll go with me.
Do you think a lot of men, I'm going to deal with men right here. Do you think a lot of men believe that God, you'll go with me? Do you think they even believe that?
I think a lot of men won't believe it because their pride gets in the way. Because again, it becomes down to a pride issue. Because we have that saying, you do me dirty once, shame on you. Do me dirty twice, shame on me. So,
you'll never catch me
and what do
again.
we mean by shame on me? It means now I'm feeling stupid. Now I feel like my manhood, or I should have known better. I let you get the upper hand. That's pride, right? That's our pride.
Yeah.
And we all have it, but men tend to have
men,
it way more, and it tends to mean more to them in a specific way. But there's also, and I hate to bring in scripture this way, but we all have heard, and the word says, pride goes before destruction. Okay, and a haughty spirit before a fall.
Yes.
So if your pride, and I think that's the difficulty for some men, is letting go the pride to say, I'm willing to take the risk. A part of why we have to come home is because we're called to love. The greatest, no matter. The Bible says we could do all we want to do. It's wonderful that you give to the poor.
Yes,
it's
the
wonderful
love.
that you're doing all this good stuff.
Yes.
But if you don't have love for your neighbor, if you don't have love for one another,
You're empty.
it's all
It's all
you're just
just
noise.
in vanity.
You're
It's
just making noise.
Yeah, that's it.
Right?
That's it.
So the way we learn to love each other is by being in community and engaging. And if we follow Jesus's example.
And I would also say the way we learn to love is by going through some issues and working it out.
And working it
And
out.
you have to learn how to work it out.
What marriage would last if every time you got mad, you left? Well, a lot of marriages aren't lasting because that's what's happening.
Or just even relationships.
Relationships,
because a lot of people do that. I think every relationship, even platonic friendships, hit a rough point, and you either choose to work it out or you just give up, you abandon that relationship.
I challenge everybody all the time. I see it all over Facebook. Just cut people off. Cut them out your life. If they unfriend them.
Wow,
If they're not going your your way. So it's all narcissistic and about you.
Yeah.
It's not about maybe I have something to impart to somebody. It's if you're not imparting to me what I think you should be imparting to me, then we can't be connected.
Yeah, we're all on the receiving end. Like, what are you giving to me? But then it's also the assignment. A lot of times is okay. You need to impart into this person's life. Not always. What are you doing for me? What are you doing for me?
That's what stops you from that. That's what's making you a disciple versus a consumer. Is when you understand that it's not just about you. That the purpose of us being together in this place is not just about you.
It's growth.
And it's growth.
It's growth.
And so, to me, one of the first ways to start the healing process is to confess that you're wounded and you're hurt. Don't make it what it's not. Okay, don't try to hide behind it. Don't spiritualize it, or don't make it just. I just didn't feel connected there anymore. No, I was hurt. My feelings got hurt. And so I disengage because I'm afraid to be hurt again. Right. Once you're authentic and real with God, okay, He can work with that. He doesn't want to work through all the facades. Okay, He doesn't want to work through all of what we put out there for why we're not really engaging. Okay.
And also some people don't want to go because some churches do have some other issues. Some churches it is about the money. The word is not strong, but there's some place where you can be fed and be a family and be part of a body.
And again, we don't stop going to get our hair done every time we don't get a good haircut. Okay, I don't stop going to. You know how long it takes to find a good beautician?
That's a good point.
But we don't stop trying. We don't just walk out with our hair looking in your kind of way because we can't find something.
We keep going.
We try different wigs in the interim, but we keep looking for somebody to do our hair.
That's a good point.
Most men don't stop going to the barber shop because they got a bad cut once. They start reaching out to their friends like, yo, I need a new barber. Where your barber at? So I'm saying do the same things. Start reaching out because again, let me say why this is important. This is not just about coming to church. This isn't about that building. It's about, but it's why you need it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because God instituted this to be for community, and when you aren't in community, you're weakened. And if we look at what's happening in the world, the things that are happening are able to happen because we as a body are not united and strong. That's just the bottom line, right? So if we're all fractured, we're like the Republican Party. We're all over the place, okay? We're all over the place. Some of us don't come to cast our votes, some don't, and some of
look what happens.
And look what is allowed to happen.
Look what happens.
If we say we believe what we believe, then we need to come together to stop the friendly fire. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it should be okay that we're hurting each other where we are.
Right.
We need to stop with the friendly fire. We seem to be the only people who eat our young like this. Okay, we gotta get it together. There's some things we gotta work on. That goes without saying. Okay, please. But if it was that simple, the devil wouldn't be in there trying to mess it up. If it didn't have purpose, it wouldn't hurt so bad.
That's a trick of the enemy. But now, because our show is almost over, but I want you to tell us, how did you find your way back? And what was that process like? Did you ever step out of church and step away for a while?
I stepped out when I was looking to find some place where I felt safe. I was looking for some place I can go to be anonymous.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't want to go where people knew me, knew I was Pastor Joyner's daughter. I didn't want to carry the baggage. And that led me to a whole nother state. Moved to another state solely to be at the church that God called me to be at. I had no family in Jersey. I'm a Brooklyn baby, born and bred. All my family's back in New York.
I used to go to church in
Okay, all my family's back in New York. I came to Jersey because I heard God saying, you need to be connected to this house.
And when you got there and sat under the ministry for a while, what was that like? What was the healing process like?
It was long. It was long, but I was committed.
That's an honest answer.
It was long, but I was committed to letting God do the work. And I had to stay focused on it. I couldn't engage in some of the other stuff, some of the most social activities, I wasn't ready to engage in yet. I just needed prayer. I needed the prayer and Bible study and my Sunday morning service because I needed to build back up my relationship with God. I needed to get over the fact that He allowed it to happen.
Ooh. Were you upset with God?
Of course.
You was, and some people say like, oh, you have no right to be angry at God.
I was angry.
You was angry at God.
And I hollered at God. And I thank God for people who gave me the safe space. I used to go to a Monday night prayer by a woman named Minister Arlene Mitchell. She would have, her mother started it, and I would go to her house Monday nights. And in that space, it was an intimate space, I used to cry out to God. Because that wasn't the only time that people mishandled me. Like, God, why does this? I don't understand. And I knew there was a call on my life. My first sermon was at 13. So I knew there was something that the enemy was trying to destroy in me. But I didn't understand why. I didn't feel protected. Why are you allowing this to happen? There were times when I said, how much more things can I endure that is shame-filled for one lifetime?
And the beautiful thing is that God can handle.
We act like He's so.
Yeah, God can handle it. But people will say, oh, who are you to be angry at God? You have no right.
His daughter. Do not your children ever get angry with you? And if we're in real relationship, it's fake for me to act like I can't have real dialogue. And everybody I've seen in the Bible, Abraham, Moses, had real dialogue.
And I think that's the problem. Some people are not having that dialogue. They get angry and shut it down. You have to dialogue about it to let it out.
And it eats you up and you become that mean usher. Okay. That when you come to the house of God, we don't even know why you came. Because you look mad that you're there. Okay? I'm just being real. Because there's stuff going on inside of you that you are not laying at His feet.
You're not going to the altar and laying it
at
there.
His feet. I put all my cards on the table. I'm angry. How do you allow this to happen to me? I was your daughter. I was doing everything I thought you said I should do.
God, you didn't protect
and then
me.
You didn't protect me. That's real. That's real. When I listen to some songs that say He never let me down and never protect me, that's not my story. And I dare anybody to tell me it has to be. You are not there.
Because I'm sure a lot of people feel like that.
Of course they do.
I want you to talk to them. But some people that feel like that, God, you let me down. But two, don't feel comfortable or free enough to say, God, I feel like you let me down. God, you disappointed me. You hurt me, God. What's
And it's only when you become authentic with that He begins to speak to you. And He begins to be that balm. We always sing about stuff that we never experienced because we don't know how.
Girl, you gonna get some people saying some stuff now.
Honey, we talking about He's a balm in Gilead, and we don't have no idea what that means in our lives because we don't feel healed. Personal. We still wounded. We still
and so angry about some things. God, I believed you for some things, and God, I believe you told me some things, and God, it just didn't. It
didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. God,
so
I
how do
trusted
you deal with the disappointments that come in this life's journey? And I'm not going to give you no trite, but everything happens for a reason. We have made that statement so trite. You can't tell someone who's lost their child at 10 years old that everything happens for a reason.
All things work together.
All things. You sound crazy.
I'm hurting. God, I hurt.
We don't
God,
know
I feel
why
disappointed.
It happened.
Exactly.
We don't understand what God was doing when He allowed it to happen.
Exactly.
But despite the disappointment, I still trust you. Despite what I don't understand, I leave space to say, I don't understand it, but I know. I know you got a plan still for my life.
And God, where I'm hurt and where I'm angry, and God, where I've lost faith, God, help me there. I've had to say that, and recently, God, help me. Help my unbelief.
We see it in the Bible what people are saying.
Yes.
The man says, God says to him, I'll do what you ask, and he still says, God, help my unbelief.
Help my unbelief.
It's okay.
But
humanity.
Do we teach that?
No, we've made doubt a sin, and we've made fears. We have demonized these things when actually, if it wasn't expected, God wouldn't say it so many times. Don't be afraid. If He didn't expect you to get afraid, He would never keep telling you, don't be afraid.
It's okay to say, God, I felt let down. by you, Lord. God, I felt disappointed. God, some things happened in my place of worship where God just don't know parts of it.
It's okay to say I don't understand.
Yeah. It's even okay to say, God, I don't even believe all that stuff that's going on. God, you know.
And some of it you shouldn't. Some of what's in the culture of church is just, we need to just throw it out.
We can do
so
like,
that's,
we can
that's
just, we
another
can
segment.
be, ooh.
And people think that if I don't agree with everything, then I can't be engaged. That's not true. You don't agree with everything about your politics, but you better go out and vote.
You better do something.
Well, we see what happens when you don't. But hopefully we're learning that we don't have to agree with everything to say, though, I still trust that it will work out.
I trust you. I've had to come to that point, God, looking at my life, Lord, it's not what I thought you showed me it would be. God is keeping in mind also that my life is not over yet. But I had to come to myself and say, God, but I trust you. Because God, if I can't trust you, I don't have anything else. God, if I can't believe you, if I can't depend on you, then I might as well go ahead and call it a day.
And what that does, and that's the enemy's goal, is to put that schism between you and God again. He can get you to focus on what you didn't get, focus on what happened, focus on the disappointments versus the blessings, focus on from a space of victimhood versus a space of gratitude. Okay, because I'm still here.
I'm still here.
And for all that I've been through.
God,
I should have lost my mind.
Yes.
I should have been
driven
a
my car right on
crackhead.
off.
I should have been a prostitute. And if those things ended up being your story, you still should have been dead.
Yes.
So there is still reason to be grateful.
There's reason to lift your hands.
And there's a reason. But the enemy keeps us focused on the victimization versus on the healing. And so I leave with your audience the question, wilt thou be made whole? You can sit at this pool for 38, 36 years, 38 years if you want to. But it's only hurting you. It's hurting you. Your life isn't the same. You know you miss God being in your life like He used to be. It's not the same. He keeps, but that's the beauty of God. No matter how far we get out there, no matter how much we feel like we're not connected to Him, He's still holding on to us.
He'll meet you right
He's
where you
still
are.
right there. He ain't
just
going nowhere.
Loving you. Just that's my baby.
He ain't going nowhere.
That's my baby.
He's just waiting for you to recognize that all along, even in the midst of the hurt, even when you felt let down, He was still here.
Still there.
Still there, waiting
no
to
matter how
love
angry
you.
you get,
No
no
matter
matter how
and
silent you are.
Okay.
But that question you just said, "Oh, wilt thou be made whole?"
Wilt thou be made whole? There is healing. For His healing is the children's bread. It's what is freely given to us. But it takes sometimes some work on our part. The woman with the issue had to make her way through the crowd while she was bleeding.
What are you willing to do?
What are you willing to do to be? Are you willing to risk getting hurt again? Love is risky. Love is risky. I'm not going to tell you that when you re-engage that you won't get hurt again.
Because you probably 99% you probably will.
But guess what? I tell people all the time, while you sit there talking about how much you've been hurt, I'm sure you've hurt as well. You've hurt others. I had to realize that I have inadvertently hurt some people myself. There are people who have church hurt because they think I said something to them. So we always think from our victimhood
perspective,
and our perspective, but we oftentimes don't think of ourselves as the offender.
That's so good.
There are some of us, we've been mean and hateful.
Yeah.
We have been offensive. We have been stinking cold. Our attitude that I'm not that chick has gone so far to the left that we've been.
Yeah. Look, y'all, don't be messed up the I ain't
That's
that
right.
shit thing. Supposed to be doing it for self-empowerment.
That's right. Doing it, but some of us, because of our woundedness and whatever, we've gone so there's grace for it all.
Yeah.
We need grace for others as well as we need grace for ourselves.
But what you said, wilt thou be made whole? I want you 30 seconds. I just want you to encourage somebody real quick. 30 seconds.
Listen. I'm just here to say. I'm just here to say that despite whatever kind of hurt that you have endured at the hands of God's people, what they did to you probably wasn't right. You are absolutely right. It was wrong. It wasn't okay. You had a right to be wounded, but you also are given the gift of healing, and that healing is in the house. So my prayer for you is that you will confess and be authentic with God about how you feel and the hurt that you've endured, and that you ask him to show you how to start to re-engage with him and his people, because he's calling you back home. It's time to come home.
Tisa, I have so enjoyed you.
Thank you
on this
my
episode.
sister.
Oh my gosh, y'all, we have to do this again. We have to do this again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I so appreciate it. Please tell somebody about this episode. Share it, watch it, comment. Tisa Joyner Nance, thank you so much. Love you. Bye, you guys.
Want to find out more about I Ain't That Chick? Visit our website at www.IAin'tThatChick.com.